RIMS is global. Discover why 10,000 of your peers in more than 60 countries are part of the world's largest risk management community. Visit rims.org/membership to find the best membership for you and your organization. Coming to you from RIMS headquarters in New York, this is RIMScast, the official podcast of the Risk and Insurance Management Society. I am Justin Smulison, Business Content Manager here at RIMS and your proud RIMScast host. This is episode 390. It was recorded live on site at RISKWORLD 2026 in Philadelphia. It's one of my favorite episodes of the year. We will be joined by a range of guests. But first, let's talk about some virtual workshops. The next RIMS CRMP Fed exam prep course will be held May 13th and 14th. The very popular CBCP and RIMS CRMP exam prep bootcamp will be held May 18th through the 21st, and the next RIMS CRMP exam prep will be held June 9th and 10th. Links to registration are on this episode's notes. And we've got RIMS webinars coming up. On May 14th, our friends at Origami Risk will return with a new session, Future-Proofing Your Risk Program, Keeping Pace with Scale, Complexity, and Visibility. On May 21st, our friends from GRC return to present the session, Is Your Fire Protection Strategy Outdated? Emerging Risks Are Changing the Rules. And on May 28th, Zurich returns with From Underwriting to Risk Management, What to Expect from the Growing Demand for Data Center Construction. Register for webinars at rims.org/webinars and through the links on this episode's show notes. Folks, RIMS is back on YouTube. Our handle is at RIMS Official Channel. We've got plenty of videos there, including RIMScast, RIMScast Canada video podcasts, and other informative and entertaining content from RIMS. Subscribe to the channel today. And let's get on with the show. As you might be able to hear in the background of my recording, we are live on the exhibit floor here at RISKWORLD 2026 at the Philadelphia Convention Center. There's a buzz in the air. There's a lot of great energy. And a lot of that energy transferred from the stage right to our booth. My first guests are from our LA RIMS chapter. They are Sandy, Avina, and Angel Guerra, and they co-presented a session on Tuesday, May 5th, titled Between Truth and Trauma, Investigating the Invisible. RIMScast caught up with them right after they came off the stage to discuss the state of mental health claims and to get a preview of their new book, which they co-authored. It's coming out May 18th. It's titled Riskfetti, Risk Management for the Rest of Us. We're going to have a lot of fun. Let's get to it. Sandy, Avina, and Angel Guerra, welcome to RIMScast. So they are two of our LA RIMS chapter members. They're here at RISKWORLD. How are you doing so far at RISKWORLD?
Exciting. This is my third time being at RISKWORLD, and I love coming back.
Third time. When was the last time we saw you?
2 years ago.
In San Diego?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it was a nice drive for you all. Yeah.
It sure was.
And Sandy, this is your first time here.
My first time, and I'm trying to experience everything, and it's like trying to put 10 pounds of sugar in a 5-pound bag, but
yeah.
I'm getting there.
You're getting there? And you're the Riskfluencer.
I'm the Riskfluencer on TikTok. That is my handle, yes.
That's your thing, yeah. And Angel, are you the angel of risk?
Well, I have Beauty and Beast in Business. That's one of my businesses. And together we kind of make Riskfetti.
There you go. Right. Well, we're going to talk all about Riskfetti in a moment. Before we get to that, though, tell us, each of you, if you don't mind, where you practice now and the abridged version of your career.
Started out in the mailroom 20 years ago, moved through claims, operations management, and global risk management. Currently a VP for Arrowhead, which does independent medical and risk consulting. You
started out in the mailroom of Arrowhead?
No, I started in the mailroom of SRS, back when Hartford owned it.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you're going back a ways there. But
Let's not give away my age.
I won't. But I also find those experiences, even going as far back as my temp days, they give you a thick skin.
They do. They build you out, and you get to see everything from the important reports up through the management. And I think when you become a risk manager and you've had that experience, you bring that with you, and that gives you empathy, but that also gives you knowledge and the ability to kind of manage a program really well.
Excellent. And Sandy, how about you?
So insurance found me in 2003. I was right out of college. I needed a job. And in California, we have a state fund for workers' comp, and they were looking for adjusters. And I said, I don't know what workers' comp is or what an adjuster does, but I have a degree, and that's all they needed.
Right.
And that's how I entered the career. And I really loved it, and then started to learn other lines. I now work for California Schools JPA. We're a public risk pool that supports K through 12 and community colleges. And I lead the claims program there for property, liability, and workers' comp.
Excellent. All right. So do you love what you do?
Oh, yeah.
You do? Okay. And how did the two of you meet? Through the LA RIMS chapter?
No, through LinkedIn.
Through LinkedIn?
Yeah, through LinkedIn.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how I got recruited here at RIMS.
Right?
It's a great platform.
It is the best, actually.
Yeah, and the
So-
benefits of social media,
Yes,
right?
One of the few.
One of
Yes.
the few.
There you go. And so you had a session today at RISKWORLD. I'm catching you hot off of, not the press, because we didn't press you through it, but hot off the stage.
Yes, sir.
What was your session?
Our session was really on developing the defense for psychological claims because we're seeing that change in legislation across lots of states and allowing mental claims and not just physical mental. So we spoke with Dr. Ron Heredia, was also on our panel. He's amazing with the medical component of how to craft those defenses, how to properly investigate.
And then recognizing that there's two components. One, it's those red flags, right? But there's also those very truthful claims. And as professionals, recognizing that we have to check our own unconscious bias.
Yes.
And then think about those fact finding and not have a specific agenda as we walk through that. And that's how we're going to benefit both the employer side as well as the employee.
Now, this is May that we're in right now. May is Mental Health Awareness Month in the U.S.
It is.
Is that something that do you take an extra initiative or campaign with your work when it comes to this sort of thing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So one of the organizations that I partner with is Kind Souls Foundation. They do phenomenal work. They are a nonprofit.
Kind Soul.
Kind Souls Foundation, yes. And they provide a warm emotional support line for anybody who has a work displacing event. So we use it in claims because of workers' comp, but it could also be somebody who is on leave caring for an aging parent. They could be on FMLA for a completely non-industrial issue, but connecting them to the resources they need. And so we try to make sure that we get the word out because a lot of that stress comes from root causes that are just things that we struggle with in life, right? Like you have the sandwich generation who is caring for their kids and caring for older parents. A lot of people are struggling right now.
All right. Excellent. And you, Angel?
Yeah, the same thing. One of the things I think we are starting to see is people being much more open about that mental health and that self-care. And there is still a stigma to it. So recognizing that not just in this month of May, but throughout the year is really important.
Absolutely. We had a guest a couple weeks ago who was in the military in Canada and was very open about his post-traumatic stress disorder. And he was wearing it on his sleeve, basically. And so we had a nice, wonderful conversation about it. And it is the sort of thing that it's not so much that I found it was a stigma. I just didn't want to bring it up if somebody didn't want to talk about it, you know?
Right.
But I think if they're open with you about it, then it's a freer rein to discuss, right?
Yeah.
And when you have the discussions more often and they're more open, people feel more comfortable to actually bring it to the table. Yeah.
So while you were, what was the title of your session today?
Between Truth and Trauma, Investigating the Invisible.
Okay. And what was the vibe like in the audience? Did you take questions? Were they engaged with you?
Yeah, we had a lot of people who were really, told us they were really happy with the session, that they are also seeing where they are, increases in legislation that allow for more mental claims, and it's been a challenge to kind of keep up. It's a very different environment.
Right.
So very receptive to that.
And then having Dr. Ron with us gave us kind of a full spectrum of what it looks like from the employer side. I used to work with investigations as well. So how are you investigating those? Recognizing the importance of just being very clear documentation. I think all of us know if it's not in writing, it didn't happen.
Right.
And then having a doctor actually help with what type of questions should they be asking.
Excellent. So you have a book coming out on May 18th, which is about a week from now, because this episode comes out May 11th, and it's called Riskfetti. Is there a longer title to Riskfetti?
There is. So
Tell
the
us the longer
subtitle
title.
is Risk Management for the Rest of Us.
Risk management for the rest of us. You're going all Seinfeldish on us. All right, excellent. So you felt that there was a need for a book that would speak to mid-sized businesses, and this is what this is all about. So tell us, give us the elevator pitch.
So I think because Angel and I both had our career that started in claims, we found that a lot of employers that we spoke to really didn't understand risk management. They didn't understand their coverage or their insurance or how a lot of that works. And if we look at what is in the industry today in terms of education, a lot of it is very academic. A lot of it is really meant for your risk managers who are, this is their profession, this is all they do, it's their bread and butter. But for employers, they're not going to go get their CPCU. They're not going to take webinars on coverage and understanding endorsements. So the
They might assign someone else to do it.
They assign someone else, so it's all bifurcated within the organization.
Yeah.
But the challenge is risk management responsibility is still there, and nobody is speaking to that audience from a layperson perspective in a way that they're going to be receptive to. So we want to make sure that it's accessible. So we created a book that is fun and engaging and that is more accessible for business owners.
And one of my favorite parts is that we use case study, fun stories of claims that we managed or that we know other people managed. And there's some pop culture in there and, just very engaging that we've had somebody say risk management, that should put you to sleep. But we read the book and we laughed out loud. So part of that, and then recognizing that you have HR managers, safety managers, CFOs who don't really understand insurance or claims, but they have the responsibility.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. So that book's coming out May 18th?
Yes.
May 18th. All right. And so we were talking before we were rolling, and I think this is fascinating. You're really at the peak of your careers, and you may have other things that you want to achieve with your careers, but you're certainly not anywhere near retirement. So I was wondering, since you're at this very special stage of your careers, do you have any words of wisdom or words of knowledge you'd like to impart on the next generation coming in to the profession?
Yes, for me, I would say find a community of individuals who are willing to support, who are willing to talk about the hard things, and who are willing to cheer you on when you're not sure if insurance or claims is where you want to be, because it's not an easy industry, but it's a wonderful industry.
Okay.
My advice for the younger generation would be make content. Make content about this industry. If you are working in this industry, make your TikToks, post on socials. It's so important because I think we need to hear from that generation, and that is really democratizes that flow of information, and they have access to that.
I was just going to say, they're doing it anyway about their personal life.
Yeah.
So just don't say anything bad about your employer and post it.
Yeah, I mean, follow your guidelines. Don't say bad. But I mean, talk about your experience. I want to know what it's like as somebody coming in right now in 2026 in the industry. I know what it was like for me 23 years ago.
Sure.
I want to know what it's like now. And that's the best way to get that information out there. Trust me, we want to know those opinions.
Right.
So I would love to see more people making content about our industry.
Well, I think that's wonderful, and I love what you're doing. And you've got a lot of great energy. I think you're still coming off the high of being up on stage. Do you have another session, or that was it?
No, that's it.
Okay, all right, great. So now you get to relax and party a little bit and have some fun.
That's coffee all the way.
Yeah, basically. That's my life. Angel, Sandy, thank you so much for joining me on RIMScast. You were wonderful guests. We're doing this on the fly here at Risk World, and I hope to see you again next year.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Justin.
There are so many other wonderful RIMS events coming up in 2026. Let's talk about them now. The 2026 Florida RIMS Educational Conference will be held July 28th through August 1st, once again at the lovely Ritz-Carlton in Naples, Florida. A link to the event is on this episode's show notes. And you can register now for the second annual RIMS Texas Regional Conference, which will be held August 10th through the 12th at the wonderful Grand Hyatt on the San Antonio Riverwalk. Advanced rates available through June 5th. The 11th annual Chicagoland Risk Forum will return to the old post office on Thursday, September 24th, 2026 in Chicago, of course. Visit chicagolandriskforum.org for more information. The RIMS Western Regional Conference will be held October 4th through the 7th in Seattle, Washington. Registration is open, and you can also submit a session. Visit rimswesternregional.com and the link on this episode's show notes for more information. And save the dates, October 18th through the 21st. We will be in Quebec City to celebrate the 50th live RIMS Canada Conference. Booth sales are already open, and the call for educational submissions has been extended to May 18th. And early bird registration will open in June. Visit rimscanadaconference.ca for more information, and also remember to check out rims.org/Canada for our spin-off show, RIMScast Canada, hosted by National Conference Committee Chair Aaron Luconi. And it is official, the RIMS ERM Conference 2026 will be held November 18th and 19th in Columbus, Ohio. More details to follow. And moving right along, our final guest is Joel Appelbaum. He is the Executive Vice President and Chief Content Officer at IRMI, the International Risk Management Institute, and he is the host of that organization's podcast, The Edge of Risk. He's formerly a Chief Risk Officer as well, so we are going to talk all about our shared interests and the importance of risk management education and some of the trends that are emerging, some that are overhyped, and what he's seeing on the risk landscape. Let's get to it. Joel Appelbaum, welcome to RIMScast. I'm joined by Joel Appelbaum. He is the Executive Vice President and Chief Content Officer for IRMI. Welcome to RIMScast.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks for having me, Justin. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm always used to asking the questions, but this is going to be really cool to be asked the questions.
We are flipping the script on you, and if you ever want to flip the script on me, that's fine. We didn't want to save this opportunity for International Podcast Day in September. We wanted to do it now, right?
Yes, right.
So, you're the host of The Edge of Risk.
You're right.
When did you launch the show?
Oh my gosh, it's probably been about 6 or 7 years. When we first launched, it was just kind of an idea we had to come up with more relevant content, quick and fast hits, talking to leaders, and it's grown. In this last year, we grew 60%, so we're really excited about that. There's a need for insurance podcasts, and it's still growing. And it's been 6 great years.
And one of your more recent guests was Elise Farnham, our good friend Elise Farnham.
Yes, absolutely. Who teaches a class here?
Yes,
she's fantastic.
She's wonderful. So we have a lot in common. See, I don't believe in competition, no, there's friendly competition,
right?
And we're all sharing the same space, so there's going to be some natural crossover.
Absolutely. And
so I think it's all good. And we ended up sitting together yesterday at the main stage keynote, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But also, you were a chief risk officer yourself, right?
Yeah, I was an enterprise chief risk officer. Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. That's fascinating.
It's fascinating. That was quite a while ago when enterprise chief risk officers were, first kind of came in vogue. And I felt like there were not a lot of resources to be a good one, after coming from the underwriting background where you had CPCU and you had IRMI. It's like, wow, where am I going to learn about ORSA or what's this? And so I think it was a challenging time. I also think, it would tie it back to Adam Grant, right?
Sure.
People weren't ready for people with, I think Adam called it low ego, but being honest to try and help the thing. I remember so vividly bringing up like IT could be a risk. This was a little bit, this is way back, right? So, and people, I got yelled at in German by my boss for about an hour, bringing up that IT could be a risk, right? Yellow flagging it. So I love where it's gone, and I think it's so necessary to identify in a positive way risks and deal with them proactively. And I love that that's where it's moving. But when it started out, it was a really rough job. Is going in and telling people what keeps you up at night, and then sharing that with the board on a regular basis. People weren't ready for it.
Yeah,
so it's a necessary and important job, but it's also, I found it to be one of the most challenging.
Yeah.
Alone on an island. And I think everyone who's been an enterprise chief risk officer or risk officer will tell you, we do it with very little resources.
Well, yeah.
So it's long hours, and glad to have an organization like RIMS to help us out.
Sure thing. Was the transition from chief risk officer to chief content officer something that was very natural?
No.
What was it like for you?
So, to be, I think I was in a lot of positions that the International Risk Management organization, IRMI, serves, right? I was a product officer creating forms and coverage. I was a enterprise chief risk officer. I was a chief underwriting officer. I was a chief actuary. I did a lot of great things with a lot of great people in my career. None of that prepared me to be a chief content officer.
Really?
Because this was really about writing, deep research. I work with people who are so smart. These people do nothing but research all day. And what I learned is there's a little bit of a disconnect between deep research and understanding coverage and analysis really well and practical insights.
Right.
And thought leadership and how it works in the real world. So
parsing it is some of the challenge.
Parsing it and putting it all together, right? The whole communication around it. So it was a bit bumpy coming in and changing the way that IRMI approach things. Because I followed one of the greatest leaders, and I had the joy of working for him for the last decade, Jack Gibson, who built IRMI. Awesome, amazing person.
I know the name. Yeah.
Yep. He's well known. But, trying to put that all in writing and keep it up to date and make it useful and change it from just research to practical insights was challenging.
Yeah.
So, it's been a great challenge. It's something I've loved. I love being at IRMI, and I love working with, people in the industry every day trying to understand what they need and marrying the two. But I wasn't ready for it as an enterprise chief risk officer, because I know, like, hey, these are the things you want to read about and know about. That I had.
Yeah.
But translating that into the written word or the spoken word or a conference, totally different.
It is. Yeah. No, it takes many forms. So it is an art form into itself. And as the host of The Edge of Risk, you're constantly translating complex issues into accessible insights. Why do you think podcasting in particular was kind of the perfect medium? Is it because it's digestible? Because maybe you don't have to see it in order to visualize it, if you know what I mean? You can visualize it mentally and that's it.
Yeah, I think that one of the things I struggled with is, these researchers, they love to, research every angle, right? It takes a while to translate that into print. And we also do, CE courses, tax, conferences. That takes time.
And they'll need to be updated with the times as well.
Yeah. And but a podcast can be so simple, right? Yeah. We can talk about it yesterday like we did, come up with 6 or 7 questions that we think are relevant and go. Yeah. And so it really fills the gap for the on-demand necessary knowledge that somebody might be seeking on the go. Yeah. Right. And that's one thing I love. I have young kids, 30 somethings, and they're listening to podcasts in the car while they're exercising. And that, you don't have to sit down and read, you can grab the knowledge and you can find something topical. We like to do 20 or 30-minute podcasts. And then that's a risk. Yes. Yeah.
Because anything more than that, it becomes, it doesn't become burdensome, but it's the sort of thing where most people might not have the attention span for more than 30 minutes.
Right.
Because they're, like you're saying, they're commuting.
Yeah. It's your commute. It's your workout. But it
set your watch to it. Basically.
Yeah. And you can cover a very specific topic, very timely, and it doesn't take a lot of effort, right? So like doing a big research project or writing a book that takes a year, getting it to print takes time. This can be updated automatically. If something changes on war or terrorism or cyber, you can have a new podcast out in a day.
Every once in a while, RIMScast gets cited in a white paper or something. And I find that very gratifying, even if, it's usually not my words that they're saying, it's the guest's words. Yeah. But when we see an actual reference to something that we've done, it's very gratifying. I'm sure you feel the same.
I do. I feel like it's such an honor for me personally. I don't know how you feel about this. And I'm not saying this about me, but what I get to do is meet with thought leaders who are leading the, whatever, Marsh's energy program or whatever. Thought leaders in the industry, sit down with them and ask them questions. Sure. I feel like the Tony Robbins of insurance. You know what I mean? Like I'm just getting all this great knowledge and getting to meet them and learn a little bit about them personally. I don't know that we get cited all that often.
Oh, okay.
But it's absolutely 100% gratifying when I have some of these young kids or something come up to me like, I know you.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
I listen to your podcast.
I love
that. Is so fun.
I've walked through halls here at RISKWORLD and other RIMS events, and somebody heard me talk and they go, "Oh my God, you're the RIMScast guy or the webinar guy," because I host webinars too.
Right.
And but during the webinars, I really accentuate the host voice. Okay. Because nobody has to see me, so I really want to wake everybody up.
I try to do the same thing. Yeah, with Welcome to the Edge of Risk podcast.
Yeah. Like we're hosting a real CBS talk show or something.
Exactly.
So, what are the big topics, the hot topics for you right now, and what are the ones that you feel maybe a little overhyped?
I'm going to say, this is rough, but I think AI has been a little overhyped since I've been here. Yeah. Of course, it's a big thing. We all need to understand how to use it, but it isn't going to solve all the answers. No. I listened, one of the guests of my podcast bumped into him at a reception here. He's like, yeah, that's all we're doing is AI for learning now. We've abandoned all of our things. And
truly going all in there.
That is going all in, and I get AI can be a quick hit for the answer that you need, and it's great. It's the right tool for the right time. But I think all risk managers know that, you have to have a lot of tools in your toolkit, right? And it doesn't replace, reason I think it's overhyped, 2 reasons. It doesn't replace foundational knowledge, right? Sure. Justin, I got my MBA, and I didn't get my MBA because I thought, this will be a great career move, because it wasn't. But it helped me understand the other disciplines in the organization and when to know I was getting good information or bad information and how to talk their language, right? So I think our foundational knowledge, your certifications, our certifications at IRMI help risk managers or people in the insurance business understand the foundational knowledge, and then if you're getting a good answer.
Right, from the AI.
From the AI, right? And you got to remember that AI, right, if you think about it, it's trained on the internet. We all know the internet has biases,
It has some
flaws, and it will hit, a little bit of a learning curve, right? At some point, because there's only so much knowledge out there. So you're not getting maybe the latest and greatest insights from RIMS, who's just writing a white paper on this new topic, or IRMI, right? And, so you have to be careful where you get your AI from. Are you getting it from a reliable data source in general? And, so obviously we advocate for using AI on IRMI material. We have our own AI agent in beta right now. And, Reference Connect, we have it for all of our customers out there. It's already out there. So I think AI is a good tool, but it can also, it's overhyped as the solution for everything.
Yes. Okay. Maybe that it's not so much that the topic is overhyped. At the concept of it solving all your problems is the overhype.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's not going to solve all the problems. It's a great tool. And whether you're using it for gathering data, I went to a very interesting session here with Line Slip, and and then they're talking about how we could, everybody has, sometimes more than one broker, or not all their coverages in one place, bringing all that information together so you get real insights.
Yeah,
AI can be a great tool, but it's got to be at the right place, the right time. You can't have it write all your letters because it doesn't sound like you.
Right. And it's
I learned that the hard way.
More on that after the session's over here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what seriously is top of mind for me?
Mm-hmm.
PFAS, forever chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
That's the scary thing,
Mm-hmm.
because we all need water to live
Mm-hmm.
and bathe and cook our food.
Yes.
And the second that our water supply is bad, then we've got much bigger problems.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was astounded by that. Marsh did a presentation at one of our conferences.
Mm-hmm.
Lydia, she's fantastic at Marsh. And she was talking about the proliferation. I don't know if that's the right word, but just how widespread the problem is. It's incredible. It should be on everybody's risk radar.
It's
I know I personally put more filters in all of my houses.
no, me too. That's a big one for me. Third-party litigation funding is another. It's an emerging risk for us here at RIMS. I don't know if that's on your radar.
Absolutely, both of them are on our radar. I've personally done several podcasts on that.
Yeah.
Liberties here, right? They like to call it legal system abuse.
Yeah.
And
that's sort of our stance on it as well.
Yeah.
Yours is a far more direct way of saying it.
Yeah. Well, that's not mine. That is a borrowed. I don't know. I don't want to put words in Liberty Mutual, but it was a great podcast.
Yeah.
Really a great podcast that we did with Liberty. And, very, very much a concerning aspect, the inflated, awards, is a problem.
Mm-hmm. The nuclear verdicts,
disclosing that your third party litigation funding, which ISO has introduced a new endorsement on.
Okay.
It is it's a challenging time. We've always needed tort reform. I have thought that since I was an enterprise risk manager 20 years ago. And it's never been worse. And if you're truly a global citizen, you look at how all the other, countries in the world do it, and the United States has a problem.
Yeah.
And we need to solve it.
Yeah.
And it's really, really important because, insurance is a fundamental backstop and assistance to business, right? But at certain point, if it continues to get bad, we go through market cycles, right? And people will say, no, not enough. So then how do you find solutions to that?
Right.
And I think one of the solutions is, we want justice.
Yeah.
Right. And people want justice. I think that everybody does. But what's the appropriate amount of award, right? Does 200 million make up for something where 2 million would suffice?
Right.
I don't know.
Remains to be seen.
Yes.
So just to cue the audience back in, we met yesterday at the keynote with Adam Grant, which I thought was really good. You enjoy it?
I did. I absolutely did.
And we were sitting next to each other, and there was a part where he was showing kind of a chart of the different types of people in your orbit and the concept of the unpleasant truths that we may or may not want to hear.
Mhm.
And there's a difference between being, I guess, loyal and being honest, right?
Mhm.
That was what he was getting at.
Mhm.
And so when you look at the way that people give feedback, how do you approach delivering those unpleasant truths, and how do you like receiving them?
Ooh, good answer. Or good question. I'm sorry. I'm so used to being the host. Good question.
You're on the other side.
All right. So, first of all, I feel like I'm one of those people who doesn't have a problem delivering the unpleasant truths, and it's not always been great for my career.
Okay.
Fair
to say. Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of big corporate organizations where people are more, they really want their allies and their friends. And,
Right.
and I've watched it, right? A new chief underwriting officer, president, CEO comes in, he brings in his friends,
Right.
the group that coddles them.
Right.
And then 4 or 5 years later, bye.
Yeah.
I work for CNA. I work for 4 different CEOs. Right.
Gotcha. So that really resonated with you, that part.
That really resonated with me. And that's where I learned that, you know what, integrity matters.
Mhm.
And, you know, there's a pretty good book about the way to communicate that, right?
Okay.
You know, and I'm stealing this from the author, but, you know, communicating in the sweet spot, right? If you say it out of frustration
Right.
or anger or whatever.
If you're hiding a middle finger, it's a problem.
It really comes across wrong, right? So I think what I loved about Adam, and, you know, I think the world of Wharton too is a good school, right?
Yeah.
I like that, you know, it's important for people to deliver the truth in a way that is kind.
Yeah.
And fair.
Right.
But
But that doesn't make it fake.
it doesn't make fake.
No.
No.
There's a way
right.
you can present information that is.
And people who tell you what you want to hear, or that you're the greatest and whatever, those are the people you need to like get rid of. And I tell people in all my organizations, you know, the knife gets sharper against the steel, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in there telling me like, oh, you're so great, guy. No, I want somebody who's giving me sharpening the skill, right? I have to work harder for it. And I tell that, and that's what I like to surround myself with.
Yeah.
As teammates. And I personally, it's a little different than Adam's take, but I like to say that I have my board of governors too.
Mhm.
And I select people who I can go to and deal with a business problem or even a personal problem and say, hey, help me. What do you think about this? I just want to sound off on this. Tell me your take on this. And I think that's really helpful. I think everybody needs that. But leaders who surround themselves with the yes people, they're not going to last long.
And how do we feel about the compliment sandwich? Are we done with those?
Ooh, you know, I still like the compliment.
You like the compliment
sandwich? I still like the compliment sandwich. It's tasty.
It's got some cheese on it.
It does have a little cheese on it. You know, it can't come off. It can't come off fake. You know, here's a good way to talk about AI. You could talk about what's a fair way to deliver this, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's somewhere
The compassionate way
to give feedback about this. And I have found, you know, sometimes the tone of my email or whatever can be adjusted by that. There's a great way to use AI. It can be your unbiased feedback if you let it.
That's a great callback.
Create the agent you need.
One time we had somebody new come in and ask me, I don't remember exactly what it was, but they wanted a lot of details about a project that only I was working on. And I got very defensive. And I started to write this long email that nobody was going to read. And then I took a step back, I took a pause, and it was one of the first times I used AI. And I said, I threw it into, I think, ChatGPT. I said, somebody asked me for X. This was my response. Please shorten it and change my tone. And it ended up doing it. And then we ended up using 2 sentences. That was so much better.
Yes.
And even, I don't remember if it had an unpleasant truth in there. I really don't.
Yeah.
But I just remember the feedback after that was, okay. Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yes.
Like you're saying, if somebody had read a book about my nasty hurt feelings for a moment.
I have delivered a lot of those emails. They are career shortening.
No, yes, they are. And I think what you're raising a great point. It should be thought of as a sounding board.
Yeah.
there's no law that says you shouldn't do that.
Right.
No rule that says you shouldn't do that.
Right.
That might be a good way for the profession, especially I would think that the students coming into the profession now probably already do. I would think if they had good sense of
Yeah, I think they do.
Yeah.
You know, and there's certain types that I've worked with in this industry. They don't handle negative feedback well from their peers.
Okay.
So, you know, AI might be the best way for them to work. You know, just a thought out there.
Excellent. So how many risk worlds have you been to?
I would say about 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how's the vibe this year?
The vibe is awesome.
Yep.
I feel like there's a lot more opportunity to do small connection.
Mm-hmm.
Loving the Hartford the smaller talks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was really great.
Conversation pods are over there.
Conversation pods.
Those are cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the vibe's good. I mean, I always like the vibe here. So there's always lots to learn, interesting people. Great to connect with friends, but there's been some really good connection opportunities.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad we ended up sitting next to each other. Yeah. And I love what you do at IRMI. And thank you for joining our show, RIMScast. And I think very highly of your show. We've had a lot of the same guests, so I better think highly of your show.
Yeah, awesome.
That you're wonderful, and I appreciate all your support.
Justin, thank you so much. I love your practical insights, takeaways, and I love your podcast too. And thanks for all you do.
We got the energy. One day we're going to start our own podcast.
There you go.
Dudes complimenting each other. All right. Thank you.
Thanks again to all of our guests here on RIMScast for this special episode produced live on site at RISKWORLD 2026. We look forward to seeing you all in New Orleans next year for RISKWORLD 2027. Be sure to check out last week's episode of RIMScast, which features Risk Manager of the Year, Jeff Bray of Prologis. And now I want to speak about a topic near and dear to my heart, sponsorships. You can sponsor a RIMScast episode either on our publicly facing weekly show, that's this show, or with a dedicated episode. RIMScast has produced special episodes for JB Boda, The Hartford, Alliant, Zurich, Highwire, AXA XL, Prudent Insurance Brokers, High Trust, and Aon. Links to sponsored episodes are on our show notes. RIMScast has a global audience comprised of risk and insurance professionals, legal professionals, students, business leaders, C-suite executives, and more. Let's collaborate and help you reach them. Contact pd@rims.org for more information. Let's talk about RIMS membership, folks. Become a RIMS member and get access to the tools, thought leadership, and network you need to succeed. Visit rims.org/membership or email membershipdept@rims.org for more information. And let's also talk about Risk Knowledge. This is the RIMS searchable content library that provides relevant information for today's risk professionals. Available materials include RIMS executive reports, survey findings, contributed articles, industry research, benchmarking data, and more. For the best reporting on the profession of risk management, check out Risk Management Magazine. This is the Society's official quarterly digital publication. It is written and published by the best minds in risk management. My name is Justin Smulison, Business Content Manager here at RIMS. Please remember to subscribe to RIMScast on your favorite podcasting app. Email us at content@rims.org. Practice good risk management, stay safe, and thank you again for your continued support.